the kind of things we're seeing in these biomarkers, these are the first signs that we are inducing a repair mechanism, which is actually going in and potentially remodeling the collagen in a favorable way, reducing it, increasing the biomarkers that show breakdown of collagen. So we're extremely excited about the data that we've seen to date.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for another Virtual Investor What This Means segment. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and I will be the moderator. Today, we are excited to welcome back GRI Bio to our Virtual Investor platform, and I am very pleased to be joined by Dr. Marc Hertz. He is President, Chief Executive Officer, and Director of GRI. Welcome back, Marc.
Thanks, Janine. Happy to be here.
Well, always happy to have you. And before we get started, I just want to inform our audience that GRI Bio is listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker GRI. And during today's discussion, the company will be making forward-looking statements. And I encourage everyone to view the company's website at gribio.com or the SEC's website for their latest filings and information. All right, Marc, I want to set the stage a little bit here. So you just announced that you reported 6-week interim biomarker data in your ongoing phase 2A IPF study. Can you provide an overview of the data presented?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I think first, maybe I'll just remind people what this interim analysis um, was. So we presented data today from the first 24 subjects after 6 weeks of treatment. The study has a 2-to-1 randomization, meaning roughly 16 of those 24 subjects would be in the GRI 0621 arm, and approximately 8 would be in the control arm. Now, participants are allowed to be on background therapy, meaning they can be taking one of the 2 approved IPF treatments, pirfenidone or nintedanib, and we don't have insight into who's on what treatments at this point. This analysis was primarily to assess safety, and I'm happy to say that we reported there were no safety issues, and the Independent Data Monitoring Committee did recommend that the study continue. So that's great news. We also assessed serum biomarkers of collagen formation and degradation. In other words, the formation and breakdown of fibrotic tissue. And I think of fibrosis not as a static state, but a continuing remodeling process of what's called fibrogenesis, or the formation of collagen and extracellular matrix, and fibrolysis, or the breakdown of collagen. And the data that we released, we were able to show that GRI 0621 treated patients showed a reduction in fibrogenesis, or the formation of collagen, and a net fibrolytic response, which means the breakdown. So this is suggestive that GRI 0621 is inducing what we call a repair mechanism. It's pushing that balance towards more breakdown and repairing of fibrotic tissue rather than the net formation of fibrotic tissue. So we're thrilled with this data.
Excellent. So speaking of being thrilled with the data, just would like you to go a little bit deeper. So if you can just share your thoughts overall on the interim data, and did they meet your expectations? Also, it would be helpful if you can describe how they correlate to the need in the treatment of IPF.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, a safety assessment was the main goal of this interim analysis. Safety is a really critical parameter for IPF patients. I mean, all patients, to be honest, but for IPF patients, these patients are quite ill, and so we're really happy to report again that GRI 621 continues to show a very clean safety profile, consistent to what we already have shown in patients studied for over 1,700 patients studied for up to a year. We reported earlier, after just 2 weeks of treatment in the first 12 subjects, that we were able to observe a reduction in PRO-C3. Now, this is a key biomarker in the fibrogenesis or production of collagen. So seeing a reduction of that from baseline was critical. And in the 6-week data that we just released, we expanded upon that. We continue to show a good reduction in markers like PRO-C3 and PRO-C6, so reduction in the formation of collagen. And as I hinted at, we showed this increase in what's called a basement membrane remodeling or initiation of a repair mechanism. The goal is to ultimately not just slow down the decline in lung function in these patients, but halt the lung function decline or even reverse it. And not that we've shown that yet, but the kind of things we're seeing in these biomarkers, these are the first signs that we are inducing a repair mechanism, which is actually going in and potentially remodeling the collagen in a favorable way, reducing it, increasing the biomarkers that show breakdown of collagen. So we're extremely excited about the data that we've seen to date.
Well, Mark, that is very encouraging, albeit early. It is encouraging. I know that the company has stated the currently available treatments for IPF are limited to only two approved drugs that come with significant side effects. So I think that safety piece that you talked about is really important. And there's also limited patient compliance and no impact on survival with the current therapies out there. So again, early, but very encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on some critical points there. There's a huge unmet need for these patients. Safety is a key goal. Improving the quality of life for these patients is a critical goal for everyone who works in this space. And we're thrilled to kind of be able to continue this study and hopefully continue to show the promising results that we reported on today.
Excellent. Okay, Mark. So you know this is a what this means segment. So I have to ask, what do these data mean to your IPF development program?
Yeah. So I mean, the data, and you suggested this as well. It's early data, and it's a small number of subjects that we've been able to evaluate to date. The key thing is safety. So the study continues, and we'll have an ability to continue to assess the impact that GRI 0621 has for IPF patients. We'll have more data coming out of this analysis over the next weeks and months. We're doing a lot of analysis from these patients. We'll have some pulmonary lung function data. And again, this is after just 6 weeks of treatment. Pulmonary lung function data, typically you're looking at 24 or 52 weeks. So it's a very early look, but we want to understand, what impact we might be having for these patients. We're also looking at things like flow cytometry to really assess the cellular changes that are occurring in the periphery, but also in the lung of these patients, and then differential gene expression to really understand what key genes related to fibrosis are being impacted by our treatment. We'll have that data, like I say, coming out over the next weeks and months. And then we have top line data coming out in the third quarter of this year, where we'll be able to see the full study from all 36 patients after 12 weeks of treatment.
Excellent. So you started to get into it, but let's kind of really break down these milestones for investors because they're always looking for these potential value inflection points. So if you think about from now until the end of the year, can you just map out what investors can expect next related to this phase 2A study?
Well, we have an action-packed third quarter ahead of us. We have our top-line data coming out in the third quarter, and as we did give guidance in our last Q, we are funded through that readout. Uh, we're thrilled for that. We'll have some other data coming out between now and then. We'll continue to kind of get a little more data coming out of the current interim analysis, but the big one is really going to be top-line data in the third quarter of this year.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Mark. Well, certainly GRI is a company to watch from now until the end of the year. We can't wait to have you back to discuss your upcoming data. And with that, this does conclude the Virtual Investor What This Means segment featuring GRI Bio. I'd like to thank Mark for joining us today. As a reminder, GRI trades on NASDAQ under the ticker GRI. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit gribio.com for more information on the company and to sign up to follow the company to receive their alerts as well as follow their social channels to stay current on the latest information. Mark, thanks again. Can't wait to have you back. And I wish everyone a great rest of your day.